Yeah. So with that, let's go ahead and go to our next conversation. This is Antonio in Florida. Antonio, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, gentlemen. How you doing?
I am good. How are you?
Good. No complaints.
Cool. So what do you want to talk to us about today?
So, just want to get some background information on you guys in terms of which argument or which fact or which observation convinced you that there are no gods and/or God.
Ooh, from the get-go, I don't know if I'm convinced that there are no gods.
Right.
I wouldn't necessarily say that. I'm just not really convinced that there is one. And so I take a step back from that and say, you know what, I don't think that I could possibly demonstrate that there isn't any kind of God. So I have to reserve judgment on that and say I don't have any evidence for anything out there right
And
now.
it also depends on how you define God. For example, you could define God as energy, and I'll say, yeah, energy exists. Yeah. So then, therefore, I believe in God, but that's not, what most people will say. I will say I'm pretty convinced that the Christian God isn't real, and I'm willing to go that far.
Come again?
I'm willing to say that the Christian God isn't real, and many modern conceptions of him and other kinds of gods. But if you define some God that's untestable, unverifiable in any way, I can't say whether he exists or not.
Can't talk about that anymore. It doesn't work.
There's just no way to verify it. So.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the Christian God, and we can go with that one. What convinced you that is not real, or that God is not real?
Yeah, you want to start with this one? Or
I think there is logical inconsistencies, basically demonstrating that there is. Oh, you got a little noise on your end, bud. I think that there's logical inconsistencies that basically make it to where we can determine that there is not, at least the Christian God is not omnipotent or is not omnibenevolent. I think there's all kinds of ways to show that all of the omnis that the Christian God demands are nonsensical.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that you can look at the characteristics of this God and say that those characteristics are not existent, but can you prove that, or does that? So how would you go further to say that because the characteristics of the God are inaccurate based on whatever scriptures or whatever believers might think, that therefore there is no God, there is no Christian God? Why isn't it just that you're wrong about his benevolence, or you're wrong about his omnipresence or his omniscience?
Sure.
Why wouldn't you just stop at those attributes?
Yeah,
instead of
Good question. So do you believe that there is such a thing as a single bachelor?
So basically you're saying the inconsistencies make it impossible for it to exist? I would love for you to give me that one characteristic that shows it doesn't exist.
I would actually backtrack because if we're talking about specific claims from specific gods, and we're talking about the Christian God.
We're talking specifically about the Christian God.
Right, exactly. So the Christian God has specific claims to its existence and has lots and lots of attributes and things that he has done on earth. For example, there are people who say, I prayed for Drew over here and he has been healed, by the grace of God and this and that. Whereas there's other natural explanations that can cover that, or either that, or there's events that have been described, particularly in scriptures, that have either were misconstrued wildly or just never even happened. And so if that's going to qualify whether or not a God is real, for example, if we're talking about Jesus Christ rising from the dead and that never happened, well, then I'm going to say that, Christianity is at least false in some way. And if there is a God, then he is not the God that's being described in the Bible or, any other kind of Christian conception of him.
Okay, great. So you said if there is a God, he's not the one described in the Bible. So we know that he can still exist even if all the attributes are incorrect, correct?
Well, if he's not the Christian God, then what is he? Right? He's something else.
No, he's a God. He doesn't have to be. My question is, what argument convinced you that the Christian God does not exist? And you can't tell me that the inconsistencies of the attributes are what convinced you that he entirely does not exist. You have to tell me what convinced you that the entity of God does not exist. Not his qualities, not his attributes, not his personality. What about...
But that's what he is. How can you say that we can't use those things if we're not...
Well, you're objecting to that
Yeah.
because you know that's as far as your argument goes. You can't take it any farther than we don't think he's benevolent, we don't think he's omnipresent, we don't think he's omniscient. Doesn't mean he didn't create the world. Doesn't mean he did not create the world. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Well,
Doesn't
if
mean
the Christians claim that God
Go ahead.
created the world a certain way, and we find out through natural methods that that's actually not true, then I would say that.
You hypothesize. You cannot prove the way that.
Well, let me ask you this: how do you know that you're not
Yeah, go ahead.
hypothesizing about God? What's the difference?
I'm asking you the question.
Sure,
what
but-
convinced you that God doesn't exist? Does not exist.
Well, let's stick to one topic at a time because
That's the topic.
you're making claims here that you actually know more about the Christian God than I do, or at least
No,
there's
my
something about
question
him
is
that
what
you know is
What
true.
argument- No. My question is, what argument convinced you that God does not exist?
Again,
Not the attribute.
but
Not the attribute.
Yeah,
Well,
so
I can have-
I
cover
think
this.
there's confusion because I think we covered this because we're talking about the Christian God.
If someone says Antonio has 2 arms and only have 1 arm, doesn't preclude me from existing. That would be an attribute error, correct?
Well, if
Antonio has blue eyes. Antonio doesn't have blue eyes. He has brown eyes.
Yeah.
Your argument has to convince me that I don't exist.
what if we defined that
doesn't exist.
necessarily Antonio has 2 arms and has blue eyes? What if we define necessarily that is the case? Because isn't that how the Christian God is defined
Right.
as being omnipresent, omnibenevolent,
Creator of the
omniscient?
universe. But he has many attributes, right? He has.
But yeah, those
universe.
those are some of his attributes, and if you
Right.
show that those don't actually exist or those are nonsensical, then his attributes are nonsensical.
Yeah.
There you go. He has nonsensical attributes, and
Well, what you can say is that people have interpreted his attributes incorrectly because it can be nonsensical, but it doesn't preclude him from existing.
Okay,
But
so-
you have to go as far as showing that he exists in the first place.
yeah, so humans could be wrong, therefore.
Yeah.
I guess we
So
could be wrong
your
about it, but
argument
Yeah.
is that we could be wrong that he exists. That's your entire argument. That's what you base your life on.
no, I don't. I'm not saying that we could be wrong, and I thought I was just trying to repeat back what I thought that you had said. That you could be wrong about that. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the attributes are not attributes do not make a guy, right?
But okay,
They
if
are
we have
qualities of
wrongful
God.
interpretations, let's say every single attribute we know about this God is wrong, then we don't know anything about him. Right?
Not necessarily, because with the God label, he still had to be the creator, right? That's the one thing of a God, of the God.
But that's an
God
attribute.
created everything. Yeah. Creator.
Okay.
You can't.
But let's say, well, I mean, why does he have to be a creator?
Yeah.
There are gods that aren't creators all the time.
The only way to get the God attribute, which is the Christian God.
Okay.
That's what we're arguing for.
Right.
Okay.
Is to be
Yeah.
the creator.
So would you say that if the Christian God, wasn't a creator, if we could demonstrate that there wasn't a Christian God, there wasn't a creator, would that show that the Christian God doesn't actually exist?
Yeah, that would probably be the
Okay.
one attribute that you would need to prove.
Okay, so
God does not have
that
or
one
does not
attribute
exist.
supersedes all of the other attributes that I listed. So basically, if we disprove that
agree?
attribute, then that will make it to where we can disqualify all the other attributes from defining him into existence. But if I give
Well,
my attributes, which I think that disprove his existence, no, those are unnecessary.
Yeah.
So why is
What
it
I'm
being a
saying-
creator more necessary than being omnipresent, omnibenevolent, like the Bible defines the Christian God to be?
Not that they're not necessary. They're inconsequential to the existence of God. That's the whole point.
Well, I think that a creator
Right.
God is inconsequential to the existence of God. What if I said that?
Yeah.
Can you prove that? Or can you make a logical argument for that to be the case?
Nope. Can you? For yours?
You just made a nonsensical argument, and you want me to make an argument for the case of the creator God not
Yes,
being the God?
we don't believe in God, so you would have to make the case that the God exists.
No.
Yes.
The whole point is what argument? Well, I'll repeat the whole argument. What argument convinced you that God does not exist? And what you started with was the incongruent attributes of God. That has nothing to do with the existence of God. We all agree
Okay,
with that.
existence
Again,
is an attribute, correct? Can we go there?
Can you?
How about that?
You can. If you go there, can you make it work?
Yeah, I don't see or feel or touch
All right,
or
go.
do
So
anything with
what argument
God.
proves that God? So what argument proves that God doesn't exist? That's pretty much.
You're kind of arguing backwards.
Yeah, we
because
covered that.
The
No.
burden of proof lies on the person making the claim.
Okay. No. I asked you what argument convinced you that the Christian God doesn't exist. You were willing to take on that argument, right?
Yes.
And we did.
We did.
The attributes of omnipresence or omnibenevolence prove that God did not create the world.
That's not what you asked us. God existence, not whether God created the world.
Existence, exactly.
Those are two different things.
You understand this. You understand this. If he is not omnipresent, does that mean he did not create the world?
No, but I'm
perfect.
kind of confused.
Now, exactly.
So what we end up saying here is
Yeah.
what it's coming down to is we're saying that all the omnis, if we can show that those are nonsensical, then that means that the Christian God doesn't exist. And he says, no, those are inconsequential to the existence of God. I asked if we could disprove that God was, or there was a creator, then that would disprove the Christian God. And I then asked, why is being a creator more important of an attribute than being being omnipresent, being omnibenevolent, all of the other ways that God's described in the Bible? And I haven't gotten an answer on that.
Well, the answer is very simple. He could be malevolent and the creator. He could be non-omnipresent. I don't know what the opposite of omnipresent would be, but he could be local only and still be the creator. He could be not whatever.
Yeah.
Omniscient.
Yeah. Sure. So
He could still be the creator,
conceivably there could be something that we could call God that isn't all of those things, right?
Yes.
Well, you know what? Conceivably there could be something that's not a creator. We could still call it God, right?
I mean, not if we're going to follow the classical definition of God, which God.
You just made my argument for me. The logical definition of God possesses all those omnis. There you go.
No. You want to get out of this so bad, so desperately, but I just asked if you just pose an argument that convinced you that God doesn't exist.
And I did, and then I used your argument to let you know that you're making a nonsensical argument at this point.
No, you didn't.
Sorry.
You've watched enough Jordan Peterson, because I've watched your videos, to analyze a well-constructed argument and someone who is being disingenuous and dishonest.
But here's the thing.
You've done enough of that analysis.
We can't make the argument that God doesn't exist until we know what that God is. We have to define what that God is first before we can do that.
Christian God.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
God. We already established that.
yes, and so as we've said before, and we'll go through this
argument
one more
proves that he
time
doesn't
here
exist?
because I don't want to keep going in the loop of the conversations. There are certain
You present an argument?
attributes, and I would add claims of the existence of the Christian God that we would know that he exists based on things that only he could do that would help us determine, that that's him, that we don't find to be convincing. That, Christians through history have made claims about this God that we just, don't see. Either there's logical consistencies or there's empirically wrong, data about them. Like if we're talking about, there are some Christians that believe God created the earth 6,000 years ago. Well, that doesn't match up with, the data that we have through these other methods. And we find the methods that that we find more convincing, we find them convincing because they're more reliable in showing us other conclusions. So
you don't have any arguments that disprove the existence of God. You just have a lot of data that you either disagree with or don't believe.
So not
right?
any that satisfy you, given the fact that
I just want to hear your point of view to the point that that you've made
I think you want to hear our point of view from your framework.
Yeah,
and
we've
we're
given
not,
our point of view.
No.
Yeah.
I would love to hear why you're so convinced that God doesn't exist when 98% of the world, for all of humanity, believes that there is a God and or gods.
Has 98% of humanity ever been wrong about anything?
It doesn't matter.
Yes,
But
it does
in this
matter
particular
because
case,
the consensus doesn't define what's true about reality.
Number one, in this particular case, all of humanity, for nearly all of humanity,
No.
all of history,
That's
has
not
believed
true.
in a God and or God.
Look.
And you have figured out with your limited knowledge,
Antonio.
that there is no God.
Antonio, are Drew and I part of humanity?
You're
Yes.
that
Okay.
2%
So
that
all
don't
of
believe in a
humanity
God.
has not come
The
to the
rest of us-
conclusion that God
okay.
exists. And by the way,
Okay, good.
using arguments
Point
from
made, point made.
consensus.
Only
No,
98%.
okay. Well, I will drop you in a second if you don't let me talk. Okay.
No problem. The D-bag approach is a great argument.
It's not a D-bag approach, man. I think we've been very. Look, if Matt Dillahunty was here, you'd be gone like 10 minutes ago. All right? Let's be real.
What? His D-bag
Yeah.
approach is the worst thing for atheism because we know he's just obfuscated and trying to escape the actual argument.
And
Okay.
I don't think your approach to theism is very good either. So we're just going to let you go and just end the conversation. I'm sorry that we had to do that, but
one tip there, Antonio, is that I would try to keep things from going in multiple circles because that was about 3, and you asked us what our argument was. We stated what it was, and then you said, no, that doesn't work. Didn't explain why. And then you go back 3 more times to what's your argument, and we gave it to you. And then you switch all of a sudden to another argument at the end. Like what's your goal there?
I don't know.
I don't think that the approach is necessarily going to work out very well.
And if you're trying to make us mad, if you're trying to do something to us, I mean, we're used to this now, and we're not trying to sponsor debates on this platform necessarily. We can talk about what our beliefs are and how we got to those conclusions, but you can either accept them or just disagree with them. I would encourage you to reflect on some of the answers that we gave and some of the answers that other atheists might give to that question and see if that satisfies you. If not, then have a great day.
Also look up special pleading and understand why saying that one thing being more valuable than another for basically no particular reason, not really a great approach.
We have another caller coming up. This is Duncan from Texas. And you wanted to ask us, hey, how's it going? I have a note here saying you wanted to ask us for the basis of our belief in atheism. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm just wondering what the rational basis for atheism is, whether you define it as the denial of the existence of God or lack of belief. If you lack belief in God, what is it then that ultimately exists that would tie everything together and be a basis for rationality? What would be the impersonal ultimate that would exist that would replace God?
Well, this isn't Matt Slick, is it?
No.
Okay. So
I'm not.
Sorry, say again?
I said I'm not Matt Slick.
Okay, cool. Just making sure. Because if you are, then lying is a sin. I'll just let you know.
I'm not. I'm not.
Do you know who Matt Slick is?
Yeah, I've seen him on YouTube many times.
Okay. Well, I think that's an interesting question. I don't know if atheism is the rationality or the basis for my rationality. I think if it was, then I'd have to justify that, but it's not. So
No. Well, what ultimately exists? Since you lack belief in God, you must have a belief that something is ultimate or absolute.
Why do I need to?
Why?
Why do I need to have a belief in something ultimate?
Well, then, what would be the basis for your belief in any states of affairs, including reason? What prerequisites would exist for your capacity to reason or have epistemology?
I don't know if I need a prerequisite for reason. I think everyone has it. I mean, obviously reason.
Your brain isn't the prerequisite for reason?
Well, I mean, I need a brain to reason things. Yeah.
And does your brain operate in terms of causality and laws of nature, and do they exist?
From what I can observe. Yeah, it seems.
Can you observe causality?
Can I observe causality? I can observe events happening and then other events happening.
Right, but I'm just saying the causal principle.
What do you mean?
You observe that there are causal relations between events? Because if you can't account for causality, then how are you going to account for reason? Since you require justification for God, then if matter, energy, causality, and laws of nature replace God as the basis for you to reason, how do you account for causality and laws of nature? Because you can't appeal to sense perception, because that.
Why do I have to account? Are you saying account as in I have to prove that causes exist? Because
Well, yeah, is causality and laws of nature a prerequisite to reason and have epistemology?
You do realize laws of nature were made by our reason. They describe how things work.
Yeah, I'm saying, do they exist?
They're descriptions of how things work.
Okay, but are there laws of nature, and are there causal connections between events that would be a prerequisite for your capacity to reason and have epistemology?
There are descriptions for how things work that we came up with our reason and our intellects to describe the world in which we live. I don't see why we have to have a precept ultimate source of any of this. Atheism is the answer to a single question.
Yeah, but when you have your atheism, you lack belief in God because God's not rationally justified, right?
I don't have atheism. That I am an atheist, but that's the answer to a single question.
You lack belief in God. You lack belief in God through the process of reason. What ultimately exists that provides for your capacity to reason? Is it laws of nature?
I don't. So
blind faith.
Well, faith. I mean, I think that's an equivocation because I'm using reason to come to my conclusions.
So, I understand that you're using reason.
Yeah.
I'm just simply saying to you, how do you account for the prerequisites that you are reasoning?
How do I account that well, okay, so I think are you trying to say how do I account that my reasoning is accurate?
Yeah, I just want to see if you actually have a reliable method to be able to reason. Do the prerequisites for reason exist in order for...
are there like axioms that I accept? Maybe. Is that what you're asking?
Are those axioms adopted by blind faith, or they have a justification?
Yeah, so it depends because I think different people adopt different axioms depending on what kind of atheist you ask.
Well, what about you? Are your most bottom basic beliefs adopted by blind faith about the nature of reality, or do you have a justification for it? Because you insist that God has to have a rational justification, right?
To hold a belief in God, not necessarily that God exists. It's two different things, in my opinion. Because I don't know ultimate truth or whatever. I know how to justify my beliefs in order to accurately accommodate them with reality, at least the reality that I perceive it. So
the prerequisites for reason, such as causality and laws of nature, do exist?
The prerequisites, okay, that's a lot. Okay, can you repeat that a little more slowly so that I can understand?
Do the prerequisites of reason, such as causality and laws of nature, actually exist in order for you to be able to reason and have epistemology?
I mean, we observe them through reason. So, I don't know.
Reason is not sense perception.
Yeah, but we have to reason that they exist through our observations.
Well, you can't appeal to sense perception to justify causality and laws of nature because sense perception entails causality and laws of nature in order to be a meaningful concept. That would be begging the question. So you can't appeal to something that presupposes causality and laws of nature in order to justify laws of nature. So as an atheist, since you lack belief in God, you must believe in something that ultimately exists that makes God unnecessary, such as matter, energy, causality, and laws of nature. So what's your justification for that?
No.
Disagree.
And is this Darth Dawkins?
I do use that name, yes.
There you go.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Cool.
Yeah, do you have a justification for that, gentlemen?
I disagree with the premise.
Yeah, the premises are garbage.
You disagree that reason has the prerequisites of causality and laws of nature?
I think you don't understand what laws of nature are.
Okay, well, the question I'm asking you, gentlemen, is since reason requires certain prerequisites that nature operate in a certain way, otherwise you wouldn't have the capacity to reason.
They don't require that they
don't.
We know the reason why we can justify that they do is because we're using reason. Okay,
Yes.
we don't, accept that to be true a priori. We're having to use our reason to come to those conclusions. I think you're getting it backwards. You can't call that a prerequisite because we're using reason to figure that out.
By our reason, we describe how things happen, and we call those the laws of nature.
Yeah, they're descriptions that we use our reason for.
Right.
If our observations told us something else, that there weren't causes, that things just happened randomly, then we would.
How do you know things aren't happening randomly?
Well, my sense perceptions don't tell me that they are.
No, you can't. You see, you wouldn't be able to. How would you be able to distinguish between a random chance world where events are spontaneous, producing the same kinds of consistency as necessity? How would you be able to know the difference?
What would be the difference?
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking you.
No, I'm saying, like, even if it was random and everything worked exactly the same way it is, then what does random even mean?
Well, if all events were random and spontaneous, would you have the capacity to reason? No. So you must presuppose there's laws of nature and causality. Do you have?
No, I would have to presuppose.
No, because how did you figure that out? You used your reason to figure that out. So you're using reason to do that. There's no.
I'm just asking how you account for it.
That's how I account for it. I use my reason.
Yes, we use our reason.
Yeah.
Right. So you're saying I reason, therefore I reason?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
No. When did I say that? No.
I'm asking you.
What does that even mean?
So what I'm asking you is reason has prerequisites.
No.
If God.
No, it doesn't.
God, can I finish my statement, please? If you lack belief in God as the ultimate prerequisite for reason, then something else must ultimately exist, such as matter, energy, causality, and laws of nature, to provide a foundation for you to have reason and epistemology. And I want to see if you can account for the prerequisites of your claim to reason.
Okay.
Can you justify that there are laws of nature?
First of all, God is not a reason for reasons. It doesn't.
And once
there's
in certain worldviews, God would be
no. The existence of a God does not confirm that you know things about reality. In no way does that make sense.
What I'm simply saying is, in certain models of worldview, such as the Christian worldview, which I hold to, God would be the ultimacy of reality, which is the ultimate prerequisite for everything, including reason. Since you lack belief,
are you a reformed epistemologist, or are you just a typical, like, what is your?
I'm a Bible believing Christian, sir. Now,
he's an internet
I'm
troll,
sure. No, well, what your specific worldview though? Because there's like millions and millions of Christians that disagree with what you just said.
I'm a Bible believing Christian. I believe that the Bible is literal from Genesis to Revelation. Now, can I get back to my question?
Well, because Christianity.
Can I get back? Yeah, I understand that, but my question is about how do you account for your capacity to?
And I gave you my reason, and you have rejected it.
May I finish my question? In your worldview, something must ultimately exist as a foundation and a prerequisite that provides the correct.
So this is the fifth time you've said this, and again, I reject your premise.
Yes.
What do you?
No.
My answer is null.
So there's no ultimate. There's no absolute in existence that provides a foundation for reason.
No absolute. I don't know what that means.
How would we know what an absolute is?
We don't have the ability to tell.
Let me put it this way. I'm sure you agree that all assertions or propositions require context. So when you make assertions about reason, what's the ultimate or absolute context of reality that provides the meaning for your capacity to assert
don't
reason?
Have one.
No.
Nobody has that ability.
If you don't have one, then how do you know you can reason?
No, it's not that I don't know I can reason. See, that's where you messed up. Okay, I never said I couldn't reason. My reasoning could be faulty, but that doesn't mean I can't reason. You see the difference? I could reason false conclusions. I could, that is possible, but you can't say I can't.
Dan, can I just tell you something? This is Darth Dawkins.
I know
he has been trying. He has been trying for
I'm aware.
months to get on my channel with me in a chat for just this reason. It never gets better.
I'm not sure what you're even talking about trying to get on your channel. What are you referring to, sir?
You have been in my chat countless times asking to join.
I'm not sure what you're referring to. I sent you one message, I think, asking if you wanted to have a dialogue. Just one message, sir.
No.
How does one message equal countless times?
My reason.
I sent you one direct message, sir.
All right. Well, regardless.
Anyway, but that's changing the subject. So the point on what I want to say is, since you lack belief in God, if you have no foundation in terms of your worldview,
I do have a foundation.
Then how is your reason meaningful?
I do have a foundation.
What is it?
Why are you saying that I don't? I do.
What is it?
My sensory perceptions of the world and my reasoning abilities are my foundation. No, they're not ultimate. They're not ultimate, and I'm not making the claim that they are.
No.
Sensory
I don't need ultimate.
would not be the ultimate foundation. You're going to need a bottom level foundation about what the nature of existence is in order to claim that you can have possession of reason. And what is it?
No, because first of all, I have to. You're assuming I'd have to have a foundation in order to come to that conclusion anyway. So it kind of defeats the purpose.
So do you believe in that foundation that provides you the capacity to reason by faith or by evidence?
Gosh,
No.
we've gone through this several times, and I've seen you talk about this with other people. I'm not really interested in having this conversation because I don't think that it's meaningful, and I don't think it's simple either.
It's not.
I think that this is
why? Because you can't answer the question. Do you use
no.
We have
Actually,
over and
I've
over.
answered it several times, and other people have answered as well.
Well, is it by blind faith or by evidence that the foundation is there? And what is that foundation?
It's by neither. I've already told you. It's my sensory experiences and my reason
your
that I make claims about my perception of reality.
Are not your sensory apparatus, are they not contingent upon prerequisites?
Okay, so we kind of talked about this before, but I'm interested in what you mean by prerequisites. So you're saying that I have to assume a priori that the world works in specific causes. I think is what you're.
In order for you,
which I disagree. I think that I can still use my reasoning abilities and I would still be able to tell, because we can tell things about supposedly there are quantum events that happen that don't happen on a cause effect basis, and we're using our reasoning to come to those conclusions that might be the case.
Not really addressing my question. What I'm getting at is what is it that exists that provides for the capacity to reason? Is it the way nature operates? Does nature, the way it operates, provide the foundation for you to reason about anything as an atheist? And is the way nature operates, is that causality and laws of nature? Is that what exists as the foundation?
Those aren't my foundations. Okay. Thank you for calling. I really do appreciate you calling. And maybe
so you don't want to answer the question, huh?
I've answered the question several times, and I have other callers that I like to talk to because we're going around in circles.
I haven't answered the question. You've just talked around it. You haven't answered it in the least. But I would understand.
How many, Darth? How many times have I told you what my foundations are?
You did. I didn't hear what your foundation is.
You didn't hear my Hey, Godless Iwan, what are my foundations? Please tell me, as I know you heard.
You said it was sense perception, but sense perception.
Yes,
okay, so you did hear. Okay, so you lied. Okay, so there's one.
No, I'm not
you did actually hear what I said. What you meant to say was it wasn't a satisfactory answer for you because it didn't go through your routes of conversation that you've already had planned out. Okay, I'm done with this conversation. Thank you for calling, Darth. Have a nice day. Okay, look, if you're a presuppositionalist and you want to have a conversation with me, I'd love to talk to you. But if you're not going to treat me with the respect that I deserve or my co-hosts deserve in our intellectual capacity to understand what you mean and to think that we haven't studied these issues for several years and have done the work in figuring out what we believe and why we believe, if you doubt that, then it's not worth talking to us. Go talk to somebody who you can fool more easily. because I'm done with that. I'm not going to be tricked into Christianity because you think you have some sort of special proof that if only the atheist mind understood that somehow he'd be a Bible believing Christian and start telling gay people they're going to go to hell or some stupid nonsense like that. Okay, I'm not there for this.
I don't know, Dan. If he would have said laws of nature one more time, I might have reconverted.
Maybe so. That's fine.
I mean, it was close. No.
Talk to Jim, who's calling in from New Jersey. First we had Joe, now we got Jim. Jim from New Jersey, you're live on Truth Wanted. What's up?
Hello. Yeah, so I'm a Christian, and yeah, I pretty much kind of like just get you guys just kind of, ask me anything, because throughout my life, I've seen a lot of things about the Bible that didn't look good, and then I've learned about things, and then I saw it from the other way.
Well, here's what the call screener wrote, and they said that you wanted to know of us why we think the God of the Bible is bad. Was that something you were interested in talking to us about?
Yeah, that was pretty much what I was going to explain.
Okay, yeah, sure.
The reasons why you think.
Yeah, well, one, I think it's important to point out that I don't think the God as described in the Bible, Old Testament or New Testament, exists. I don't currently hold a belief that they exist as an entity, right? So I can describe their characteristics, but that doesn't mean that I think that they exist as a thing, right? Just getting that out there, because some people get confused. They're like, how can you say that something that isn't real is bad? Well, I also don't think like Peter Pan is real, but I can tell you about their character as people have depicted them, right? So that's how I feel about the Bible when it comes to God, right? Like God has been depicted by different authors at different times in history. The Bible encompasses thousands of years worth. About 1,500 years in the total span of the Bible, right? And encompasses all that work from different people at different times who interpreted God differently. So it's an idea that isn't single, I guess. It's more than one thing, right? So that's kind of the problem when we talk about the characteristics of God, because the God in the book of Genesis, for example, or even in just the Pentateuch, is different from the God of the New Testament, in my opinion. I don't even know if they're talking about the same being. Rather, they're just talking about what they perceive to be the same being, this kind of same idea. So, but if we want to talk about why I think God is bad, pretty simple. He told people to do bad things. I mean, that's it. Like, he was definitely okay with people owning other people. He was definitely okay with Israel invading other nations, and killing people, and having this sort of vengeance. That was his idea of justice. He also definitely has talked about men and women being different. Well, I mean, again, this is authors' interpretations of what God thinks, but I think he's been used to uphold an unjust patriarchy in some ways, and sometimes just is blamed on for all kinds of things. Christians say, well, God told me to do X, Y, and Z. So again, like, this idea of God is also bad. But yeah, as far as the character that's described in the Bible, like Yahweh, like, yeah, they've also done a lot of bad things as well. I think killing people indiscriminately is wrong. So global flood is bad. If Jim from New Jersey did a global flood, I would say Jim was a bad person. But you haven't done that. At least I don't think so. But if a God did do that, then yeah, I think that's a bad thing to do. But again, there's a lot of things when talking about the Bible there. So there's my long explanation there. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I was looking for like one specific reason. I understand you don't believe in God. I'm just like the God of the Bible. Like, what is wrong, or just some specific reasons that we could talk about the depiction of God in the Bible.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think flooding people. I mean, assuming the story is true, right? If God flooded the world and killed everybody on Earth, yeah, that's a bad thing to do. That's my
pretty
example.
genocidal and sadistic.
Yeah.
Like for me, I think of the he had an opportunity to have this book be his form of communication with the people he created, but the first book of the Bible is just completely barbaric. He's
Mm,
mentioning the flood, but there's also the story of Lot and his daughter. So you
right.
start off with rape and incest at the beginning, and and then there's slavery. And
Yeah.
then as you go throughout the book, it's just a lot of killing, a lot of hate and violence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely hate and violence in the Bible. But that's just a part of reality. I mean, that like, what does God say about? Maybe we could talk about the
But
flood.
he made the 10
You know?
commandments though,
Yeah.
and he had an
Well,
opportunity to make the 10 commandments say something like, "Don't own another human being," but
yeah.
instead, he made it more about like, "Hey, don't worship any other gods above me and obey your parents even though they might be complete, like, abusive assholes."
Mhm,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Jim, do you
mhm.
think that flooding the earth, like if somebody did that, you would describe that thing as a bad person, whether they're a human being or something else, like just indiscriminately killing everybody on earth is a bad thing?
Well, the thing is though, it's definitely something that would cause suffering in people's lives.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I believe that God, the God of the Bible and the hypothetical situation of God being just in all of his judgments and even causing suffering in certain people, it's always just because he's the higher power in the Bible. So it's pretty much just like, is God just for causing suffering in the world?
Yeah, and I would
That's
say
really
no.
what
I don't think it's just. Why
yeah.
should I believe it's just?
Yeah, just because hypothetically in the Bible, God is perfect and in all things that he does, he gave life, he gave us everything and whatever he finds suitable to, you know, either scourge or punish or even kill anyone, it's always right.
So
Is it
And,
though?
is this a might makes right scenario because God is just who he is, therefore everything he does is right?
yeah, biblically, he's he's the Holy One. He's right in everything he does,
Yeah.
you know?
So
I mean,
like
uh,
do you think it's right because God says it's right, or do you think it's right because you think it's right?
well, I believe that God can do whatever he wants just based on me believing that God is holy, but also just biblically, not even taking my belief in God in the equation, just biblically, the Bible says, he is holy and, just to do as he pleases.
Do you
Just
think that
based
that
on
also
the
maybe kinda
Bible's
sounds like an
definition.
abusive relationship too, though? Like, what if you had a father and a son? Like, your dad, for instance, what if he was telling you all this stuff, convincing you, "No, I'm your father. Everything I say is right, and everything I'm telling you is just. So, even though I'm maybe beating you or telling you to do something that you shouldn't be doing, it's okay because I said it's right, because I everything I say is right."
Yeah, I definitely believe that, like an earthly father is not like literally God to a child. If the father is literally like a demon possessed, I think God is going to forgive, a child for like running from his father, who's telling him to, worship other gods or something like that.
Why? Wait,
Or,
why do you think that though? Because like God literally killed it. I mean, again, I don't know if you believe the flood is a true story. If you don't, then this is irrelevant. But like God literally just killed everyone, including children on earth, because
mhm.
apparently they weren't holy enough, right? And that
Yeah,
includes
imagine the people floating around, like, it could have been,
yeah,
pregnant women, elderly people,
yeah,
children,
Mm,
all just, like, begging for their lives. That
yeah,
sounds messed
mhm.
up.
I mean, I don't really know who those people were, but
Does it
um,
matter?
y-
I,
yeah. Why does that matter?
well,
Do you think if they were bad
I mean,
people, then that it's okay that they were killed in the flood?
oh yeah. Everybody's worthy
Mm.
of condemnation, honestly. But I mean,
Everyone's worthy of dying in a flood?
everybody deserves death, I believe.
You think I deserve
Why?
why? Like, yeah, why?
Well, I just I believe that no man is able to stand before the throne of God's judgment without any forgiveness. Therefore, we're
Why?
all worthy of death. Why? I mean, just base level, believing in God's holiness and believing in His commandments. I believe His commandments are just. I believe God is holy, and I'm here to talk about any sort of commandments that you find to be foolish, evil.
Well, I mean, I
because it really comes down. Mhm.
I understand the common Christian conception of God is that He is a perfect being, right, who can do no wrong, and so therefore, if we're following like divine command theory, which is kind of I think what you're alluding to, then yeah, like God can do what He pleases, and it doesn't matter. But I'm just wondering, like, if God is what determines what's right and wrong, how do you know what's right and wrong then? Because like because like when I see an act of killing everybody in the world in a flood, I see that as a bad thing. I don't know how you can justify that other than, well, I'm God, so I get to say so. Like that's not a principle. You know what I mean? That's not really like a rule. It's just a rule of whatever I say goes. So like what why should I have to follow any other kind of principle then if it's just whatever God says, right? Like I mean, do you think like morality can exist independently from God? Because otherwise, I mean, how do you even evaluate things if it's just, it's whatever God
Mhm.
thinks is right? Because I mean, to me, again, if I heard anybody on earth say, "Yeah, my plan is to flood everybody in the world indiscriminately," I would say that's a bad thing. So, like, am I wrong in saying that's bad because oh, God did it this time? Like, I don't know.
And also, how does that make him
I mean,
perfect too?
yeah.
Because 5 chapters in, he's like, "I'm not happy with my creation. I'm gonna get rid of all of them except for Noah's family."
Right.
I mean, it's just the creation. It's not that
Just
important.
Other people?
It's just the created being. Yeah. I mean,
so if,
it's
like,
His
all of us
creation.
died right
What
now, we
do
would
we
just
have?
be we're just a creation, we're not important? If the flood happened right now,
Uh,
today, it would it wouldn't matter? None of us are important?
well, truthfully, no. I don't believe so. No.
Hmm.
Like when you think about in the scheme of eternity and just like compared to how good God is. I mean, the only thing that matters is God and what He can give us through love. Um, I
What
mean, it's just
love do
great.
you
Like
think we
compared,
experience from God?
it, well, I believe the love of God is through Jesus and through His Word.
So he killed his son, and that's the way he showed us love? How else does he show us
Yeah,
love?
because He killed His son and He was also risen from the grave. So, we can have His love through putting our faith on His Son and trusting that He lived for us without sin and rose again for us, so that we could be counted righteous and God could see us righteous just through putting our faith alone on His Son, and we would know the love of God that way through His Spirit, everlasting life.
Do you think it matters? Like if God can just kill us all in a flood, right? What and well, you're talking about love, right? God through the Holy Spirit, right, gives us the ability to love other people. I would argue that again, and I know I'm harping on this, but this is a really big sticking point for me. If I think you would agree, Jim, if I flooded the world, you would agree that that's not a loving act in any way, right? Even if I took your what you were saying and say, well, this is all just in the short term, right? Because we have eternity ahead of us. I think you would still describe me doing that as a bad thing, right?
Uh, I mean, you're you and God's God, though. You know.
Yeah, but why does that matter?
Like if God caused me to get killed, even I would still love God.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Maybe
Why
he
would
was
you love
angry
someone that wants to kill you?
because he was angry with me, and he's it's all right. I don't.
Seems a little messed up, to be
That's yeah.
honest.
Uh,
Why? I mean, why does he being mad
Here's
and why does he being angry at you justify your murder?
because he gave me everything. I mean, let's just think hypothetically here about the flood. God gave the whole world every breath they've ever had, every movement they've ever had, everything they've ever seen, all the good things, everything, their whole body, every part of their existence, was given by God. That's a lot to love him for. And, if he's spiritually, people can love him spiritually, but also there's so much to thank him for. It's kind of overwhelming, hypothetically speaking.
I mean,
considering the flood, like, hey, like he gave me everything and then he drowns me in a flood. I'd be like, wow, thank you for everything.
I don't know that everyone on Earth at the time, if the story was real, was given everything. But that aside, Jim, like, look again. If you describe the act of killing people in the way that you're describing to any other being besides God, we would call it psychopathic. We would call it murderous. I mean, it's literally worse than Hitler, right? Like at least with the Holocaust, it was only some people. We're talking about all people on Earth, right, that are dying because God is upset with them and he has a right because he created everyone. I really don't see the logic. I don't see why I created you, therefore I get to kill you whenever I want. I don't see how you can make that through line, you know?
The Bible talks
I
about
think
Satan saying that he's going to steal, kill, and destroy.
Yeah.
Yet in this situation, it really seems like it's God that's doing that. And the only way that it really makes sense reading the Bible is if God's actually the bad guy, because I don't see any stealing, killing, or destroying done by Satan. It seems like it's
oh,
God.
God's not stealing because God, it's not even our life, you know. I mean, it's his to take, it's his to give, it's his to take. So it's not really stealing. And he also gives a lot. He doesn't just destroy. He also there's a lot of goodness from God, but also he can destroy.
So
And there's nothing
so
he can steal.
is the
What about
flood
natural
act
disasters? That's destroying.
yeah, well, that's interesting because you said there's a lot of good he can do, but he can also destroy. So are you saying that his act of destroying is separate from an act of being good?
Well, it doesn't. Him doing destruction does not inherently make him unholy.
I mean, why
Him doing
not?
destruction is because it's a form of judgment. Everything is about him and learning from him. He is the father. So, it's like if a father disciplines his son, why is he? It's because he loves the world and he wants the world to know
Sure.
how do
Well,
you please God, what is right.
the point of discipline is to show the error of someone's ways so that they can do better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Killing someone isn't discipline. There's no discipline there.
I know.
I mean they can't
Yeah.
exist anymore in the world, you know? So what's the
Yeah, but
point of killing
he
everybody?
does
Honestly,
evil.
what's the purpose? Is it just because he wants to do it so he can? Is it to show a lesson? I mean, because I think
Well,
there's other ways you can show lessons, you know?
mm-hmm. Well, it definitely was a symbol. I mean, he definitely used it as. I mean, but can I say 2 points?
Yeah, sure.
Maybe.
Go ahead. And we got to wrap up this call soon here, Jim. Just as a warning, but go ahead.
It's that he does kill sometimes, but he also just punishes physically on this earth. So a father, he doesn't only just kill, but he does actually punish, just like in regular ways. Like you're going to get afflicted in your life. You're not going to enjoy what I'm gonna do, and you can learn from that,
So why didn't he do that with the people that were killed? Sorry, I know you had another question, but like if
No, that was
it's
it.
demonstrated that disciplining some people can work sometimes, why didn't he just discipline them instead of killing them?
Well, he just did that. I don't know. He decides to kill people sometimes, and that's his judge. It's not really for their learning, but also for the world learning. So he just decided to kill them that time, and also he used it as a great symbol. The flood, the boat. The boat symbolizes Jesus being saved. So he uses these things also as symbols, perfect symbols of the whole gospel, even. So that's one reason why he did that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess it is obviously symbolic to me, but it's symbolic in the sense of like, yeah, this is a mass murder that happened, and it's basically telling me if we don't listen to this guy, he's gonna do this to you, or he has the potential and right to do this to you. So
Yeah.
I mean, you better listen. I mean, like that when I hear that, that's what that sounds like to me. I don't know what act of love or mercy comes from killing the entire world and saying, I could do this to you too, by the way, but I'm not gonna. I mean, to me, that's not mercy. That's a threat. That's coercion, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, that's one form of his way to get his points across, but also it's through his people being lights of the world through how loving they are and how obeying the laws of God through the people. Like
Right.
Israel should be a light to the world. So
I wish there was more of
that's the
that.
way he does.
I wish that had happened instead of killing everybody. Again, I don't believe the story is literally true, but
Mhm.
seems like
Yeah.
that would be better. I mean, do you not? Do you think so,
Yeah.
Jim? Do you think that would be better?
I think, sometimes he punishes on this earth just a little, and keeps people alive, and sometimes he punishes them to death, and it's whatever he does.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Jim, that's about all the time I have because we have a bunch of other people that want to
Mhm.
talk to us. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you go. But I appreciate you calling in, and
All right.
thank you for giving us that back and forth there. Ashley, what'd you think of that call?
It was pretty disturbing.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about a person, yeah, that anybody that would do that that's pretty disturbing, right?
Like, should I take his example and treat my daughter that way?
Yeah,
It seems just I don't know. That's the only thing I could think of is it's disturbing. It's disturbing that this guy believes this stuff.
but you know what, Ashley, I believe the exact same thing. I really did. I just didn't. I at least I will say I will give credit to Jim here that he at least verbalizes it. I don't know if I would have been able to verbalize it that way, but at the end of the day, yeah, it really was just might makes right. God is just and holy because He says so, and we have to believe Him because He says we do.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the logic. That's it. You know.
It's just everything he says is right and just and loving, and it's just that by default.
Yeah. Which again, it just begs the question: how do we know what's right and wrong there if it's just whatever God says? I don't have access to what God is telling me what to do every day, right? He's not informing my actions. I mean, Christians obviously claim to have the Holy Spirit, but clearly, people who have had the Holy Spirit have had different ideas of what right and wrong are, right? Like, I think you can objectively look at that and point to all the denominations that have come out of Christianity and say, well, look, this is what we should be doing. This is what we shouldn't be doing. I mean, it doesn't seem very clear,
No,
just
not at all.
doesn't seem very clear. But I don't know. That's Christianity. That's Christianity for you.
I want to go to Lisa, who wants to talk to us about whether God created the earth and God existed. Lisa, are you there?
Hi, Lisa.
I'm here.
Hello.
Good evening. Thanks for calling.
You're welcome. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Tell us more about what we got written here.
I believe that God created the earth in 6 days and rested on the seventh.
Cool.
Oh, I hear a beeping noise.
Yes, I do hear beeping.
Sorry.
That's okay. The Hot
Cool.
Pocket is ready.
So the first thing I would ask is, why?
Yes?
So I'm asking, why do you believe this?
Why do I believe this?
Yes.
You said, do you think the earth is created in 6 days? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe it. I'm just thinking if I say because I was taught it, then I mean, it's in the Bible and I was taught it, and I feel like I've seen scientific evidence that supports that the earth isn't really millions of years old. And
Sure.
Okay. So, you listed a couple things there. So that's something that you were taught. You believe there's scientific evidence to support it, and you think that the Bible also validates your claim, right?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So there's a couple different ways we can go there, Anthony. What do you think we should talk about first?
I think it would be important to acknowledge that you could possibly be taught something that might seem far-fetched that might really be true in reality. But then again, I could be taught something by people that I love and trust, people that have never led me astray. They would never want to see me believe things that weren't true. That could teach me something that isn't true. Are you willing to agree that a person could be taught something that is true or not true? That not everything that they're taught is true? Okay.
Yes, I believe that.
Cool.
Do you agree that it's conceivable that you could have been taught something that's not true?
You mean about creation?
Mm-hmm.
It's possible that I was taught something that's not true, yes.
And yet you think that you have other things to justify concluding that it's true at this point?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would you say is the best thing? What's the best justification, the most solid reason why you're sure that God created everything in 6 days?
I'm thinking.
Take your time.
Thanks. The most solid justification that would make me believe it's right.
Well, to be clear, I think we were asking, what is the most solid piece of the most solid reason why you think that it's true? We're not really getting into disconfirming it at this point. We're interested in what is that one thing that if you didn't have it, you wouldn't think that there was a God who made everything in 6 days and then rested on the seventh.
Well, one of the things I believe is that God's spirit bears witness with my spirit, which I guess you can't measure that, but it's a very real thing to me.
What I guess what we're kind of getting to is, how are you concluding that your God is real in the first place to get to the point where he would decide to create everything in 6 days? So let's dig down a little bit deeper then. How are you concluding that this God is real?
All of creation declares him and praises him.
All of creation?
What is
The
it about
world is
creation
orderly.
that convinces you that there's a God?
Surely you've met people.
Bible verses come to mind. Huh?
Bible verses?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of Bible verses, but then I guess you would say there's doubt that that's real. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think I would ask you why you would consider the Bible to be a reliable source of knowledge on what's true and what's not true.
Well, isn't that what faith is about? I mean, you take it by faith.
What does faith mean to you?
It's something that might not look real, but you believe in it. It's the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
Something that might
Faith,
not
I
look
mean, that's
real?
what-
Faith is something that might not look real, but you still believe in it?
To some people, yeah. I mean, you take it by faith. I mean,
Are you taking it by faith that the Bible is true? And
the
everything in it?
Bible is true.
Yeah, that everything that the Bible says is true and that the God is real? Is faith the big linchpin here to this belief?
Yes.
Would you use faith to come to the conclusion of other things being true?
Such as?
Well, anything really that you know that your mother or father exists, for example.
Well, I know they exist because I grew up with them.
So you have a different reason
But
than
not-
faith to know that they exist, right?
Right. But I mean, when you sit down in a chair, don't you have some faith that it's not going to crumble underneath you?
But are we using faith in the same way there that we're using it in the way that we're describing knowing the existence of something?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying really hard to think about this and try to think, well, you know, what can I really say that will not seem empty to you? And I'm just not sure what to say.
yeah.
I'm not that great a speaker.
No, I think you're doing really great. And sometimes people don't spend a lot of time thinking about these beliefs. So don't feel bad. I'm really glad that you called. I mean, I think it takes a lot of guts to call an atheist show, or I don't know if you're.
Yeah.
Are you calling yourself an atheist show, or? We're sponsored by the atheist
We're
community.
sponsored by an atheist community. I don't exclusively call this an atheist show, but
My son put me up to this, okay?
hey, I think that's wonderful that you're willing to go through and actually call the show. And so props to you, really.
Can I just talk about faith a little bit more?
Yeah,
if that's
go
okay?
ahead. Go ahead.
All right, so you gave a great definition of faith, and you gave a great example of faith, and it's a very common one. A lot of people will say that it might not look like something that's believable, but I'm going to believe it anyways. That is close to the definition I think that you gave. Or I'm going to sit in a chair and I'm going to take it on faith that it's going to hold my weight. It's a very common thing that we hear, but I think there's a big difference in the way that most people who are using it to conclude that gods are real, or that holy books are a source of truth, or that the universe was created in 6 days and then rested, the deity rested on the seventh day. And that is a testing component. So I might, by your definition, use faith and sit in a chair and it holds my weight. But then again, I have a way of testing to see if my faith was not warranted in that situation. What would be a good way to test that situation with a chair? It might collapse under my weight. It might squeak and one of the arms fall off or something like that. That would be feedback.
The legs might look a little iffy.
Yeah.
There might be something about it, right? My point is that I think the way that you're using the word faith might be lacking a critical element, and that's the ability to test to see if the faith that you're applying to conclude that something is true is not reliable, is woefully inadequate to support the belief that you think is true. So we might be throwing a lot at you here, especially if this isn't something that you normally talk about or think about. And I don't want you to feel like you were put on the spot, but
Okay.
give us a little feedback. Like, has this been helpful to you too?
No, what I want to say, one thing is this, is my faith is very important to me because it's sort of how I'm able to look at the world and see. I went through a lot of adverse experiences growing up. And, the son that put me up to this, he once commented, like, Mom, I'm surprised you're not in a gutter somewhere drunk or on drugs just because of what I went through. And I look at it like, God was there. Does God want terrible things to happen to people? No. But I believe that he can sustain us and he can help us and strengthen us so that we're not overcome by them. I mean, I guess some people are overcome by them, but for me, it's been a rock in the midst of a lot of difficult things to understand that I believe I can't have all the answers on this side anyway, because it's not heaven, but knowing that there is that to look forward to just means a lot to me.
That's really wonderful that you are able to use your faith in that way. And I'm glad that faith works for you in that manner. If you don't mind, I'd love to tell you a little bit about myself to kind of echo what you're saying. So I grew up in the Christian church, and I was a student leader for an evangelical ministry for a bit. And I also used faith as a tremendous, I would say, comfort for what I was going through in my life and what was going on. And I found a lot of great people in my community. I did a lot of activities through them, and I thought I was doing a lot of great stuff for the world. But what I realized was when I was talking about faith that way, that didn't have anything to do with whether God was real or not, or whether he actually existed. I realize that the comforts that I'm getting from this doesn't necessarily have to come from a faith position, and it could be from something else entirely. And actually, my faith I felt the same way as you probably do right now, where I was kind of struggling for answers to kind of come up with a better way than just kind of the empty fluff I've been told for a lot of my life of how to justify my faith. But I really found that I couldn't do it. And that was really hard for me too. But what I got from that was, okay, I can either go back and try to look for better ways to justify my beliefs, or I could change my beliefs. And sometimes change is a good thing, and we need to update our beliefs to match everything else that we find and see if it, corresponds with the background information that we already know. And maybe that's something you want to consider for yourself, or maybe you want to go back and find other ways to figure out why you believe what you believe. But it's important that we do have these discussions anyway and are able to talk about these experiences because they're incredibly important. I know it was very, very important for me.
I really want to credit you for calling a show like this to discuss this. And if you would, it takes guts. It really does. But I really encourage you to take a long, hard look at faith as you've defined it and ask yourself about, is this testable? And I recognize that the beliefs that you have because you think that this is true, in your view, they give you value. They've given your life meaning. You think that you've gotten through difficult times because there's an entity, there's a God who's helping you through it, who's watching you. There's this wonderful payoff at the end, perhaps. It could be kind of difficult to consider the possibility that might not be true. But I would just encourage you to maybe just consider it, like investigate faith a little bit. And hey, if you find out that faith is not a really reliable way for getting to that conclusion, it just might be yourself who got through that difficult time. It just might have been you.
Well, I believe that we all have different strengths and we have different personality traits. And I think that the experiences we go through shape how we respond to them to survive and stuff. But, that's the human part of it. But still, I believe that in the part that gives me faith, I believe in that too.
Let me ask you this then. If you think you were born in any other part of the world or in a different time period, would you rely on your Christian faith to get you through those hard times? Or do you think you would rely on something else?
No. If I was born and raised in China, then I guess, is it Buddha are they Buddhists mostly in China?
They're probably not Christians.
Yeah.
They're probably not Christians back then.
I think, Chinese probably really rely a lot on ancestral knowledge and the gods that they believe in. So, I guess it's possible if I had been born there, then I wouldn't be the Christian that I am today. But does that mean that what I believe is wrong because I could be different if I'd been born somewhere else? I don't think so.
Yeah, not necessarily. I would agree with you there. But the reason why I brought that up is because you talked about how your faith was almost a result of your experiences and the way that you grew up. And I'm wondering if we can change some of the variables there about that faith, does it change the way that we think about it as describing true things?
I don't know. Well, there are people who were born Chinese, raised Chinese, and then and during their lives became very devout Christians. So.
Well, there's also people who were like me who were born very devout Christians and became atheists.
But let's not let the main point here. Let's not let the main point get lost, though. Is that it's important to take. It's very important to take a look at this core process that you're using to come to these conclusions. That everything that you're talking about, again, the universe being created in 6 days and then resting on the seventh, the Holy Book being true, that there's a God and all this, and it seems like faith is the big thing. So I think it could be useful if you were to watch this again, particularly the part where we were talking about faith, especially how you're defining it, and see if it is really as similar to the trust that you might put into chair, for example, as you think that it is, because of that potentially missing testing component.
Okay. All right. Well, it's been nice talking to you.
Yeah, it's been really nice talking to you. I hope you give us a call back. I won't be
absolutely.
here. Dan will be here.
I'd love to have you call back on this show. And if you want to talk to me more, I have an email address as well. It should be on the thing, but it's truth@atheist-community.org. And that's for anybody who wants to talk to me about anything that we talked about today. And if you are interested in coming back on, just send me an email there and we'll get you back on.
And what's so funny?
Okay.
I'm wondering what you're laughing at.
I'm laughing because my son did not say this is an atheist radio show.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Well, yeah, so that's...
No, I'm totally not offended.
Well,
you and I have had a lot of really great
So
conversations.
the reason why my email address says atheist is because this is part of the atheist community of Austin. I don't actually exclusively consider this show an atheist show, though. I actually have had theist co-hosts on in the past.
If you were on hold, you probably listened to how excited Dan was when a person calling about UFOs.
Yeah, yeah.
in.
Like, this is a show about all kinds of beliefs. And like, I'm not necessarily defending atheism on this show or saying that atheism is true, whatever that means in that sense.
Okay.
I'm more
Maybe
about
that's why you didn't say that.
yeah. I'm more about exploring people's beliefs.
What's that?
Yeah.
What's that word? What was the word you were using, Nathaniel? I think there was a word you guys. Epistemology, was that the word?
Yes.
What is epistemology? Why you believe something?
Yeah, epistemology is the philosophical study of why we think the things we think are true, or basically how we know the things that we know.
Okay. All right. Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you.
It's been really nice talking to you,
Maybe
too.
we'll talk again
I
sometime.
appreciate your attitude, too.
All right.
It's very nice talking to you.
Yeah,
Bye.
absolutely. Thanks again.
She was a joy.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye. I hope she calls back.
Yeah, that was great. So,
You know, I may have brought that on now that I'm thinking about it, because I live streamed like 3 times on different platforms to tell people that I was going to be on the show.
Yeah.
And I encourage people to, I said something like, if you've always wanted to have a loved one or a friend, family member, call and speak to somebody using street epistemology, have them call in. And we have like 10 people in the queue here. And I'm wondering if somebody heard that request and then asked their mom to call in.
yeah, so notice how her attitude kind of changed at the end there when she found out it's an atheist show, right? So this brings up something really important, because at no point in our conversation did we ever say God's not real or that Christianity's not true or anything like that. We're simply looking at what she claims to be true and examining whether the methods she's using are good or not, right? Examining whether or not they fall under the standards that we might consider higher.
Well, also her reaction is something that is discussed in the street epistemology community quite a bit. At what point do you reveal your stance on the claim, whether you don't believe in a God or you don't think karma is real or anything else for that matter? And there's a robust discussion about when is the appropriate time to reveal your position. When it's a family member, they usually know where you stand on the issue. Like her son, she said, like she's had discussions with him before.
Yeah.
With us, she didn't really know. And sometimes when you disclose, I don't believe what you believe, it can really tend to shut a person down and prevent progress in the conversation.
Right.
However, I think at some point, I think you have an obligation to let a person know where you stand too.
I think so. Yeah, that's a topic of discussion in the SE community.
We can get probably way into
that's
it.
happened for a long time.
SE's my jam. I just love talking about it.
Yeah, but
I kind of go in that direction. But
that was just a great conversation. I was super, super satisfied with that. Jungle Jargon in New Jersey. Jungle Jargon, are you there?
Yes, hello?
Hello, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. So I have a note here saying you're a fundamentalist since childhood and you don't understand why someone would leave religion.
No, not religion, the truth. And I noticed that your title or your YouTube name is Truth Wanted. I thought that God had the market cornered on truth.
Maybe so. You'd have to, I don't know. I definitely, the show is kind of open for anybody to tell me what they think the truth is. So yeah, you're more than welcome to talk about that here.
Yeah, I've been a believer since I was believer in the truth, by the way, since I was a child, and I was just wondering how somebody could leave the truth.
Yeah, well, I mean, Dave, you want to start with this?
Yeah. How do you know it's the truth?
Ooh.
Because there's only one truth, and
Who says that? Who gets to determine what the truth is?
it's not that complicated. I mean, the truth is that we were made to be humans, and the only body that can save us is the one who made us.
Yeah, but
And who made us?
The maker of everything there is.
So God?
Yeah, God.
Which God?
There's only one God. There's a maker of everything there is, and
There's actually a lot of gods.
He's eternal. There's a lot of forces. There's a lot of powers, but all power comes from one God.
so I guess Jungle Jargon. My first question would be like, how do you? I mean, you have an idea that that humans were made by a God, and I mean that there is a God. I mean, how do you know that any of this is true? Where are you getting this information from?
No, we were made by God. We didn't make God. You can't make your maker.
I forgive me if I misspoke, but I was talking about your idea that we were made by God, right? So I'm just kind of wondering, what's your source for this information? Like, how do you know that this is true?
Well, all you have to do is look at the evidence that we're made by a pre-existing written word inside of us that makes everything we are.
A pre-existing written word inside of us?
Yeah. Or a set of instructions, commands, it determines everything that we are.
The Bible, you mean?
That specifically makes us a human. Inside of ourselves.
We have a pre-existing set of words inside of us that makes us human.
Yeah, a pre-existing written set of commands.
Where's it written?
Inside of yourselves.
Where?
Inside of yourselves.
Like, can I get a microscope and look at it? Like, where is it? What language is it written?
Yeah, is it written in Hebrew, Greek, English, Spanish? What is it?
No, it's actual commands that actually determine everything you are. It's written inside yourselves.
What do you mean? I'm so confused. Like, you
I'm
say
really
it's written
confused,
inside
too.
of, like, but where is this written at? Like, where can I locate it?
There's trillions of copies inside of your body, and inside of each cell there's a copy of the instructions that determine everything that you are and what cells do, what cells are made to be.
Like our DNA?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're human.
It's actually a program. It's a linear program.
Yeah, we're human. That's the human DNA, but it has nothing to do with a God. There's no evidence to suggest that a God has anything to do with that.
It has to do with written instructions that make every working mechanism inside of you.
So do you agree with me that DNA isn't written, though? Because
it is written.
Well, we're talking about written. I mean, written implies that there's somebody kind of, like there's a set of instructions thought out by somebody. I mean, like, how do you know that, like, DNA, I'm assuming, let's use the word, like, created. Okay, how do you know that this is created by somebody? Like, there's a mind behind it.
Yeah, it's copied and recopied and written inside of us. It's a pre-existing written set of instructions.
Yeah, but how do you know that, though?
Because we can observe it, we can see it.
No,
what do you? Whoa! I do want to ask this. What do you mean we can observe it? Because I have never seen these commands before. I've seen the process of, like, DNA replication. Like, I've seen that in textbooks and stuff like that. But, like, that doesn't mean that there's a creator. Like, where do you see that somebody made that?
Well, it has to be. Sorry about the noise. If there's noise here,
you're fine.
It's a. What was the question again?
How do you show? You say you can see it. How do you see it? If I were to come to New Jersey and meet you, how would I see it? How would you show this to me?
Or at least see that there's a creator behind it. That there's like a mind behind it.
Yeah, it's been photographed, and the reason why we know there's a creator mind behind it because it's instructions that make directed working mechanisms.
I'd like to see these photographs. I don't really know what you're talking about.
I'm assuming by photographs you mean the actual process of, like, replication and, like, cell division and that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, that's what causes cell division.
Well, I think science explains all this really well, and there's no God needed. When you back to your original question, how does anyone leave religion or the truth, as you put it?
But wait a minute, you're not saying science does it. You're saying physical objects do it.
I'm saying science has explained what happens in terms of human evolution and creation and how we got here and how we're made and the DNA stuff. All that stuff. Yeah.
But you can't know that physical objects did it. That's science. Science is what you can know, and you can't know that.
You can't know that God did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can know that there was intent and purpose.
No, you can't. You can't prove any of that. That's just your opinion.
Because it's commands that work.
Those are just your opinions, and I think we just need to land on that because you can't show me. You're making a very, very strong claim to absolute truth here, and you've got no evidence to back that up. So the one who makes the claim has to bring the evidence.
It's an observation that the commands make directed working mechanisms work.
Did God's commands give Dave a disease?
Well, the confusion of the instructions make the disease.
The confusion of the instruction. Okay.
Yeah.
So explain that a little bit.
Bad information make the disease. Yeah.
Bad information makes the disease.
So can God fix that if it gets since my instructions got confused in my body, and my body is rebelling against itself, my muscles are beginning to not work, and over the period of the next 3 to 5 years, my muscles will quit working and I will die. So can God fix that?
Yes, of course God can fix it.
Why hasn't he ever?
The question is whether he will.
Why hasn't he ever? He's never done that. In the history of this disease.
You've lived up to this point.
No, in the history of this disease, no one has ever been healed from ALS. One person, not ever. Why hasn't God done that for anybody?
He can. He made it. He can fix it.
Well, if he can and he doesn't, then he's an asshole.
Well, that's your determination.
No, that's my opinion, absolutely.
Yeah.
If there's a God that's able to heal people like me who have a terminal illness and he doesn't do it, then he's an asshole.
Well, I have news for you that we're all in the same boat as what you are. We're just going to die.
I don't have a terminal illness, though.
That's very demeaning for you to say that, by the way.
Yeah.
We do all have a terminal illness. It's called sin, and that's why we have to die.
Sin is a religious construct. It's a man-made thing.
Yeah. Also, sin's not in my cells. Yeah. You're talking about the instructions and the replication of cells and that biological process. We've never observed that with sin. We've definitely observed that with ALS. I can definitely say ALS is a thing and is happening.
And the sin doesn't happen?
Nope.
The sin.
We make mistakes. I'm a human being. I make mistakes. I make mistakes as a human. I do things I shouldn't do, and I have to acknowledge it, and I have to own it, and I have to apologize to anybody that my bad decision hurt. But it's not sin. There's not a sin that I'm going to pay for.
So there's nothing you do contrary to or against or your maker?
I don't have a maker.
Yeah, you do. You have pre-existing written word.
That's your opinion. You've got no evidence to back this up.
Observation.
I'm observing that I was born because I happen to have a mother and a father who came together physically and created me.
Please don't stutter. We do have a pre-existing word that made us.
Did I stutter?
No physical thing can write that written word.
Yeah.
Why do you make the assumption that no physical thing can start, like the replication of cells?
That would be your assertion. You would have to prove that.
No, you're making the assumption that you said it can't happen. So I'm asking you why you think it can't happen.
Right, because it's just totally absurd and impossible.
Okay, so that's, again, it's your assumption, right? Because
I think it's absurd and impossible that a God created this.
Yeah, I mean, you could talk about opinions.
We just got different opinions.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
But it's my observation that no physical thing ever made any directed working mechanism.
It's also, and as Dave rightfully pointed out, his observation that, again, no one's ever been healed from ALS. We've got all kinds of things happen in the world physically all the time that we can observe.
But he was made, though, by a pre-existing written word.
Did you observe that? Is that an observable fact?
It's observable, yeah.
No, it's not.
You observed him being created by God. You observed Dave being created by God.
Everyone's.
No, but you said you work on observable facts, and you told me for a fact that he's been created by God. So I just want to know. Right. So you've observed him being created by God.
Well, I observed that everybody's created by a pre-existing written word that he put into place. He concatenated. He sequenced.
You saw God put it into sequence.
No, because
No.
the infinite possibilities in limited time and space is the realm of God. It's not the realm of physical possibilities.
Right. Okay. So when you say you saw God do this, you actually mean you didn't actually see it do it. You're seeing physical processes happen.
No, I'm saying the evidence of God.
When you're saying God, are you talking about the God of the Bible, the Christian God? Are you talking about the universe, the energy in the universe? What do you define your God?
Well, yeah, every power comes from God, which has already been defined.
No, but I asked you specific. Are you talking about the God of the Bible?
Yeah, it was the goat herders that defined God as all powerful, all knowing, and eternal.
And we should listen to the goat herders.
Well,
We should get our advice for human living, for all of human history, from uneducated, illiterate goat herders. Is that right?
The only ones that got it right. They're the only ones that got it right, and even scientists, your scientists today don't even have it right.
Hold on. Well,
So
wait.
the goat herders
no.
rule the world.
We gotta talk about
Your
this.
most intelligent.
Whoa. We gotta talk about this jungle
Dan,
jargon.
help me out
We
here.
gotta talk about this jungle jargon. Hold on.
Herders knew more than your scientists.
You just said that we can observe the written word in our hearts because, like, we're talking about DNA and stuff. The goat herders didn't find the DNA, dude. That was the scientist.
They couldn't even read or write.
Yeah, that's the evidence you are using to prove your God is based off of scientists, supposedly, and you're shutting them down, dude. What's up with that?
How did they find out or know about a pre-existing written word?
They didn't find out about the pre-existing written word.
I never heard that till today.
Yeah, show me a scientific study or a journal that talks about the pre-existing word.
This is brand new information right here.
Yeah.
How did they know that he was all powerful and that he made everything?
They didn't say that either, dude. What journals are you reading, man?
They did say it. The goat herder said he's all powerful and he made everything by his word.
Right, but the scientists, we're talking about the scientists, though.
No, the scientists, they don't even know what's going on.
Well, if he's all powerful, he's done a really poor job of running the world.
Well, that's your opinion.
No, it's observation. We're talking about observation.
You don't know what he has in mind, and
I don't think he does either.
You said you know what he has in mind. Hold on, wait. If we know the will of God and we can sin against him, and there's like punishments for that, or even if we know his will, right? If we know what he wants for us, then we do know at least part of the mind of God, right?
Well, if you know that he wants you to live forever, then you know what he wants for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we can know him a little bit. We know his intentions, right? At least we know. We've seen some stuff happen.
So this God has designed us so that we live forever in heaven or hell. Is that your opinion
That's
too?
what the Bible says. He says he knows what the command of God is, and the command of God is eternal life.
So
he made you once by a command, and now he's commanding you to live forever.
So as an atheist now, I'm an atheist. I used to be a Christian, and as an atheist, when I die in a few years from ALS, do you think I'm going to go to hell?
That's not up to me.
No, but you just said he designed us to live forever in heaven or hell. So which place will I go to? In your opinion, based upon my atheism.
He's commanding you to live forever, and I don't want to say whether you're going to...
You don't want to say I'm going to hell, do you?
I don't want to say you're going to go to hell because I still have hope for everybody that's still living.
No, if I don't change my mind about Christianity and I don't believe in Jesus again, and I die as an atheist, which I will,
But what if you don't?
You're thinking I'll go to hell, aren't you?
But what if you change your mind?
I won't.
And how do you know what God will do in your life? How do you know what God will do?
I've been on that side of the fence, and now I'm on this side of the fence, and I know what both sides look like.
Yeah, but you didn't know that you had a pre-existing written word inside of you that makes you everything you are.
No, I didn't know that till today.
Right. And
but in your opinion, though, you think I'm going to go to hell. You just don't want to say it.
You didn't know that all power comes from a greater power and a greater power until you get to all power, until you get to the God defined by the Bible who's all powerful, did you?
Yeah, I worshipped an all-powerful God for 37 years.
So you left the truth for what?
No, I left the lie for the truth.
How is it a lie?
Yeah, it was not true.
How is it a lie?
Because it wasn't true. I found out there was no evidence to support the things I'd believed all my life.
No, it is true that you're made by a pre-existing written word.
That's your opinion. I've never heard that in my life. I don't know what you're talking about. But I don't.
Yeah, it's observed.
It's not observed, dude.
Yeah, we're going in circles.
Yeah, we're going in circles. Circular reasoning never got us anywhere.
And there's no physical thing that can concatenate the programming that commands you to be a human.
Can what? Wait, can what?
That's a new word.
Concatenate?
Concatenate, that's program. It can program you to be a...
So, yeah, I think
linear
I think we keep going in circles here. I think we're just going to have to agree to disagree.
It's linear. You can observe the word that made you, and that word can only come from, an intelligence.
Look, dude, I've seen some pictures of some DNA. I haven't seen any words in there. So...
Well, if it didn't have instructions, then you wouldn't be a human. So you lose at that point.
Well, I guess it's like those things. Whenever I order something to put together and it has instructions, I just ignore the instructions and I start trying to figure it out. And I throw the instructions away. And that's kind of, I guess, what I did with my pre-existing written instructions. I just didn't read them.
But you don't have to know what the instruction says. The instructions work regardless of whether you know they're there or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
I don't know, but hey, thanks for calling Jungle Jargon. This was an interesting conversation.
Thanks for the call.
It was great talking to you.
All right,
maybe
thanks, man.
Talk some other time.
Yeah.
You're more than welcome to call back, and we can have another conversation some other time. But
all right.
we'll move on
nice
to...
meeting you. What are your names again?
I'm Dave.
Yep, and I'm
Dave Warnock,
Objectively
dying
Dan,
out loud.
And this is Truth Wanted, so
Dave.
thanks for calling, bud.
Okay.
Yeah, see you later.
I learned a lot.
Yeah, I have a pre-existing word.
Pre-existing written.
It's right there, dude.
Instructions.
And it's in English or something.
I thought it was Hebrew, but because the goat herders would have written in Hebrew.
The goat herders, dude. They had the
wrote
truth.
it.
They're the only ones that got it right.
The goat herders had it right.
Yeah.
And although they couldn't write, because they're goat herders and they're illiterate, they wrote the pre-existing written instructions inside of us.
Yeah, they figured it out, dude.
I hope we're taking notes.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do. So really, what it is it's this idea of.
I appreciate his sincerity. He's clearly sincere. I don't want to make fun of him.
You know what?
I don't want it to come across.
I
that
like
way.
conversations like that because people are honest with you, man.
Yeah, he's honest, but we were going in circles, and he wouldn't get off of that.
So
and,
I think
it's not observable. It's patently unobservable what he's talking about.
The confusion is we're seeing the complexities of life, and we're attributing that to a maker.
Yeah, and that's the problem. That's the essence of why religion was created, because we have all these questions about life, and there's a thunderbolt and lightning, and what is that? That must be a god.
Yep.
So let's build a religion around this god, and he's going to need a sacrifice. So do we have any virgins? And so the whole thing gets constructed to try to make sense of what we don't know.
Now it's so interesting, Dave, because you and I have both had this conversation before with people, but like. When you use these, so when people die and because of crazy diseases argument, this is the first time where I've had like a live example of that, and that was pretty interesting. So
this is not theory anymore. This is real shit.
This is real. That's the
shit
realest.
Just got real, bro.
That doesn't get any realer than that. And that I think that gave him some pause. It certainly gave me some pause. When I realized, I was like, "Am I going to do it?" I was like, "Yeah,
we're going there.
We're going there." Let's. But man, that was something else. I want to.
Watch the non-profits and join the hosts in the live chat. Visit tiny.cc/ytnp.